Welcome, everyone, to Courageous Creative Conquerors. This is Jean Voice Dart. It's my belief that everyone has a gift of creative expression. We were born to express ourselves to stay healthy and happy. Whether you're planting a garden, writing a story, building a cabinet, sewing a scarf, or singing a song, what matters is expressing from the heart. And the creative and expressive arts are a healthy coping strategy that shifts us from trauma to triumph. So join me as we listen and learn key tips and techniques from our special guest and courageous creative conqueror. Our special guest today is Shay Seaborne, former tall ship sailor turned trauma awareness activist and artist. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jean Voice Dart, and this is Courageous Creative Conquerors. And my special guest today is Shay Seaborne. She's a former tall ship sailor turned trauma awareness activist and artist. And I'm just so excited to have you here, Shay. It's going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Jean. It's delightful to be here.
So let's get started. I want to get to know you a little better. I know that we have a lot in common, and I'd like to kind of just travel along with you on your life journey, how you became who you are, because I know you have a huge gift to share with our listeners. So let's start with you as a child growing up and how you became a courageous creative conqueror. So here's a photo of you with your grandmother at 3 weeks old. What are you feeling when you look at this photo?
That's the earliest known photo of me. I was about 3 years old. This was at I'm sorry, 3 weeks old at my cousin's wedding. And I like it because my grandmother's looking at me with curiosity, and it looks to me like I'm looking at her like, Grandma, I'm God's cosmic punching clown.
Oh my gosh, really?
That's like really intense.
Now you're going to have to explain that because we chatted about that before you came on. But what did you mean by that? Punching clown.
Yeah, as a little kid, I felt like I was God's cosmic punching clown. Like anything that was good would be taken away. Anything that I became attached to would be taken away forever. And anytime that I got myself stable on my feet, the rug would be pulled out from under me, because that's what my life experience had showed me. My early family environment was so toxic that was my lived
Oh,
experience.
my goodness. So you're saying looking at that picture makes you aware that you felt that from the start. You felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was an angry child, and nobody knew why, but there was good reason.
There was
Um,
good reason. Okay, we're
mhm,
going to hear about that. Okay, and so here you are, and you look happy,
mhm.
but you're saying maybe you weren't happy. There was things going on at home. Tell us what's happening here.
Yeah, this was a church production of Carl Orff's A Christmas Story, and I was a little angel, and I sang in the angel choir, and I was so happy to be involved in something, that was bigger than me, and that was creative, and um, took lots of practice, and you built the camaraderie with the other people in the show. I just love that so much. So that's why I'm smiling so big.
Yes,
That was a highlight in my life to be
and
involved.
that's you on the left there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, a
The one with the
beautiful
biggest
smile.
smile.
So, so you were in the choir. Did you have a number of different creative outflows? That's music, you were singing.
Mhm.
Did you draw or dance or do
I
other?
I dabbled in things.
Mhm.
I didn't have much support for my creativity, but there was support for creativity. I was allowed to take classes at the Smithsonian. We lived in close to DC, and the Smithsonian offered, like weekend workshops and so on. So I took lots of little classes in, cloisonne and macrame and things like that. I really didn't value my art until the last few years. when it helped me save my life.
And that art experience was there for you to draw back upon later. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So here you are, a little bit older. And isn't that interesting that you are dressed up as an artist?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you are on the right.
Mm-hmm. That was my mother's idea. You can see she was very fond of using the makeup to make the costumes work.
She,
4 kids under, one income was difficult to do Halloween and things. So she was clever.
so tell us about that. So you have two brothers and a sister, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And the sister's older and the brothers are younger.
Mm-hmm.
And as in any dysfunctional family, the sibling relationships were not, anywhere near ideal. They were disrupted and even destroyed by the trauma that we all experienced.
And what was the trauma that you were experiencing?
Um, I experienced physical, sexual, emotional abuse in the home, and my mother knew what was happening and didn't stop it. Um, yeah, by the time I was 8 years old in that picture, I had actually made it stop myself.
Mm.
Um, I had to learn how to make it stop, make all kinds of things stop. Um, it was a couple more years before I made him stop hitting me, and a couple more years after that before I made him stop torturing me. So when I look at that picture, I just think, gosh, that kid, look at that, look how cute she is.
Yes.
And she deserves so much more than she got, but I feel like she's still in here.
Mm-hmm. And you're loving her now.
Working on it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah,
hard after everything.
I'm so sorry to hear what you went through. It just breaks my heart, but it also makes me realize how courageous you are, a courageous creative conqueror, and that you said you found a way to make it stop.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah,
so
with my
brave. And there, look at that beautiful face. There you
Thank
are
you.
there.
That's my favorite childhood picture of me. I was 9, and that was, my school portrait, obviously. So I look so good in this picture because that was a few weeks after I had time with my great grandfather, um, who basically saved my life. I had him for just a few weeks, and when I look at that picture, I think, and I compare it to my other school portraits, I think, wow, you can see his effect in my face in that picture. I was
I
actually
can
really.
see that. Yeah, there's a light shining from you,
Mhm.
like a weight off your shoulders kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and some hope.
Yeah, hope. What exactly was it about your great grandfather that was so special?
Yeah, he let me know that I'm worthy. I was 9 when my mother ran off with the kids and the bank account. She left the marriage and took us to California on the other side of the country, um, to live with my great grandparents and grandmother. And she enrolled us in school. And I loved it. I loved the school. I loved California. And I loved coming home from school to my granddaddy and spending weekends with him. And I just followed him around. And he showed me everything that he did, his artwork, and how to juggle. And he taught me about handling money, just like so many things, just by spending this time with me. And he also, at one point, cupped my face with his hand and said, "You are my sunshine. Always remember and never forget, you are my sunshine."
Oh,
Um, and then my father came and took us back to Virginia, and I never saw my granddaddy again.
mm.
But the things, the neural pathways that he helped me build in those few weeks are still here. I lost contact with them, but I've been able to reconnect, and they've really been an important part of my recovery and even my sense of self.
So what's happening here? You look like you are having the time of your life there.
I look as shaggy as the ponies. This was when I was 14. But at that point, my parents were divorced. My father had custody of my siblings. My mother had custody of me. And we were living on an organic farm for about 9 months. And I was in charge of the animals, and including the ponies. And the red one was big enough for me to ride. So I quit school and I ran around barefoot and I went horseback riding in the snow and
Oh,
chopped wood and carried water and all that stuff. And it was really, really good for me. It was the only safe place I lived as a child.
so your abuser and tormentor, you said tormentor, um, that was someone in your family, but now you're in a safe place with your mom. Is that what you're saying?
Well, safe because she wasn't there. Yeah. She
Okay.
actually at that point had started to traffic me. She also drugged me, poisoned me, starved me. What else? That's enough to talk about. A
Mm.
lot. And things were really precarious for me. And basically, she groomed me. Both my parents really groomed me for my abductor. And this
Oh.
picture was taken about maybe 8 or 9 months before I was abducted,
Mm.
and that lasted 10 months, and it it involved torture that I don't want to talk about because most people can't stomach it.
Okay.
It had all the elements that make torture worse. The frequency, the duration, the unpredictability, and immobility and humiliation, all of that, a few times a week for 10 months.
But
So,
you were able to get out of all that. And we're going to talk about that and share that hope, and you became an advocate for helping others who have been through trauma. And you say that you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We're going to hear a little bit more about that and give some tips about that. So let's look here. You look very different here. Look at that serenity on your face, surrounded by loved ones. Tell us about this.
love my girls so much. These are my daughters, Caitlin and Laurel. They are now 32 and 29, which is hard to believe. Um, when they were little, I homeschooled them because I just wanted to be with them and enjoy them. Didn't want to, send them off to school just because, somebody said they're 5 now, they got to go. And I had such a wonderful time with that. Just like gave them a smorgasbord of learning opportunities and let them choose what interested them. And amazingly, they both loved um, basically English history from the Renaissance to the Reformation, and English literature and opera and cinema and theater.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, they love all the arts. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
they grew up
That's
in a
good.
theater troupe.
And
Yeah.
what a beautiful photo with the leaves in the background and everything. It looks very healing, everything. So we jumped from teenage years or something up to you married with children, or what happened between there and there? You married?
I did marry, yeah. I spent my early adulthood just really struggling, going from job to job and home to home, and sometimes being homeless. I didn't call it that though. Only recently I went, oh, yeah, that's actually, I was homeless when you're living in a van or a tent.
I've been homeless. I know what it's like. Yeah. My goodness.
And the marriage, for everything that it was and wasn't, was also uh, as I say, a flat, dry rock in a stormy sea. And I had a place where I could, stop and catch my breath. So that's what I did.
Now this looks very important. What's happening here?
This is Congressman Jerry Connolly's assistant bringing us a copy of the congressional record that includes an entry about our Sea Scout unit. I'm the founding skipper of Sea Scout Ship 7916 in Occoquan, Virginia. And we got so many awards that the congressman's office wanted to recognize us in the congressional record. So that's what.
And why are you holding it? What's the significance of you there?
The congressman's aide gave that to me. I was the skipper of the unit, the leader.
You're the skipper. Okay.
So when the mayor of Occoquan wanted to find a leader for this new unit, he asked me, and I was getting divorced and trying to buy a house and get back into the workforce after 17 years. And I said, I can't do that. And he said, you'll have regular access to a 27-foot sailboat. And I said, okay.
Oh, wow.
But you know, it was such hard work and often thankless, but those kids just made me so happy. It was just wonderful to work with them.
Amazing. So what is happening here? This is very important here.
I'm pinning a boutonniere that I made onto the lapel of then Governor Tim Kaine of Virginia at a dinner that he came to. I was very involved in politics and ended up doing fun and interesting things. I ended up pinning this on him because I had offered to make these corsages for all the elected officials and candidates. And the person running the big event was like, oh, do whatever you want. I'm not giving you any money. Just do whatever you want. And I did that with all the elected officials and candidates. And it was lovely. They loved it so much. They talked about it for months afterward.
Wonderful.
Just from like doing something my mother taught me how to make corsages. And
she did.
Yeah.
There's that creative arts again, that crafting and all these things. You know, so those of us who have had trauma in childhood or adulthood, there's some kind of a golden thread somewhere. There's something that we can go back on and use to help us with our healing. And there's that creative thread there.
It's often been about making something beautiful out of nothing or almost nothing. And that's almost like a superpower.
It is transformative. Yes, yes. Beautiful. Okay, and wowie wow, look at that beautiful, courageous, creative conqueror, beautiful woman there. Yes, here you are, 95 feet off the deck of the Liberty Clipper. Look at that. And next we have a beautiful photo of the Kalmar Nickel, where you lived aboard and sailed the ship. And next, you were certified as a climber, even though you had a fear of heights. Awesome. And here you are being rescued by the Coast Guard when you lost an engine and a sail.
So yeah, then my trauma caught up with me. I was in so much pain. I couldn't live aboard the ship. Shipboard life is very physically demanding. So I got an apartment, and with that, I got residency in Delaware. And with that, I got mental health insurance for the first time. And I thought, hey, maybe I can actually get the care I need instead of hobbling together whatever I can afford. So I went into the big hospital here, and they put me on a medication and didn't follow the right protocols. And they ignored me when I said I'm having suicidal ideations twice. And because of that, I ended up in the mental hospital with an iatrogenic condition where they, it's a cuckoo's nest. They scare people by telling us if you want to leave before your insurance runs out, we can have you committed. That kind of thing. Yeah, very abusive. And when I got out, I couldn't even hold a paintbrush. I had to smash and smear and splatter and stomp the paint. And then I could hold the kindergarten brush and only paint with one color.
Let's take a look at some of this is what you're talking about. So we're looking at 3 paintings that helped you on your journey of accepting the pain within you and the anger and blame, self-loathing, and the sadness, the deep sadness. But the purpose of doing this was to release all of it and to find a healthy coping strategy to let go, forgive, and love yourself.
There's so much self-loathing. When I look at these, it's painful now to imagine that I ever hated myself that much, especially because it wasn't my fault. This was all stuff that was done to me.
Yes.
I feel like they kind of like nuked my nervous system back to kindergarten. So slowly I could start um, adding more colors, but I still had to use that big kindergarten brush.
And then you started educating yourself and seeing the differences between children who grew up with love and those who were traumatized. And you recognized that you did do everything you could. You cried for help, but the people in your world didn't listen. And you remembered a memory of fighting back as a child when you were bullied. Can you tell me more about what the sword and the ladybug mean? Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that.
I enlarged the one that I painted and glued it to cardboard and cut it out. So she's like a little dingbat.
Or
She'll
a
make,
soothsayer, a truth speaker.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
she'll make the wisecrack or make the point of the whole painting over in the corner.
yeah,
The
yeah,
little
I
sword.
love it. Oh, thank you. And then there's the sword in the background.
Yeah, that's actually the
Is
handle.
that your great grandfather?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
He gave.
goodness. Shay, that is beautiful.
Thank you. You probably really like the story of this one. So, uh, in February 2020, I was near death from surgery and all kinds of awful things, and I got word that my mother had died out in California, and my brother told the ME that everything could go to her late partner's estate. He had died around the same time, not knowing that our grandfather had this sword, or that, not asking anybody if we want anything. So the ME said, "Well, I'm sorry, but it's now between you and his survivors. I'll give them your phone number." And his brother was, he said, "Yeah, they were hoarders, and I have the sword, and I'll send it to you." And it was at the beginning of the pandemic, and they had to clean out this horrible place. And I really wanted to get this sword, and I knew I needed it, so I painted this picture. And I'm painting this picture to draw the sword to me. And as I so I took photos of my hands and photo of the sword and laid them down as the model. And as I laid the photo of the sword in the photo of the hands, the phone rang, and it was the brother of the deceased. And he said that he would send me the sword. And
Oh my gosh.
a couple weeks later, I got it.
Oh
The only
my
thing I had
gosh.
was my great grandparents.
There it is, the power of the expressive arts and creative manifestation, affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, it was an
Shifting
amazing
gears,
process.
shifting. Yeah. Wow. Great story. Thank you.
It's fascinating to have things like open up like that. This is the part that's really fun and interesting.
Yes, it is. And that's why I wanted to have you here because you have that experience personally that you went through this and you have really studied and learned how to work with trauma and now you work with other people. How important were the creative expressive arts, this art activity that you did?
Oh, it was so important. First of all, for me, the process, I get very absorbed in it. I get an idea and I sketch it out, and then I just go really somatic. I don't really think about what I'm doing. I just like let my body do what it wants, and then I step back and go, "Oh wow, look at that! Huh? What does it mean?" Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but a big part of that is in the process, I am not distressed. I am outside of the distress cycle. Anything that gets me out of being distressed, aware of the pain in my body and all the things I have to do to try to manage my care and everything. If I'm focused on something that puts me in the now and in my body, that's one of the most healing things I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, you described it so well. Thank you, Shay. Yeah, I think when we're doing the art, whether it's music, writing poetry, creative movement, whatever it is, and art, when we're doing it, a lot of times we're not thinking, okay, I'm going to draw something that expresses fear right now. We're not doing, it's not cognizant of that. It's just expressing. And then afterwards we look at it. Oh, wow. This is so clear what's happening to me. It's like validation in a visual way, or a sound musical way, or a poem. And you look at it later and you go, oh my goodness.
And
Thank
also,
you.
these are often things that we can share with other people.
Yes.
We can't really share our internal landscape, but we can share our expressive arts, pictures of that, and then other people can connect with us through that.
Yes. Someone
That's
can look at
really
that and say, I've felt that way too. Thank you. Yeah. What advice can you give in terms of working with the expressive arts? Something that you could give as a gift that they can do right now at home.
with the arts. Well, watercolors are very inexpensive. Most people have something in their home they could make ink out of. Ink blots are actually quite an amazing, fun thing to do. And it takes the focus off of the product and puts it on the process. And then, well, of course, anybody who knows about ink blots knows there's all kinds of things that you can find in there once you open that painting up again. So you could do that with food coloring or old paint or colored shaving cream, anything.
Yes. And you showed me some very interesting clay sculpturing things that you did. Can you show those again?
Sure. I started taking a pottery class about a year and a half ago. And the first thing my body wanted to make was these pods, lots and lots of these. They have
Beautiful.
sticky things in them. This one I made for a friend in Sweden. She has to come and get it. It's got 3 little red balls in it.
Wow. Yeah.
So I call them curiosity pods because I wanted them to pique people's curiosity so they would pick them up and go, oh, what's this one? Oh, what's that? And they do. And Dr. Dan Siegel is my favorite West Coast neuropsychiatrist. And he helped develop the field of interpersonal neurobiology, which is my favorite area of study in the whole world. It's just so exciting. And he says he likes maxims. So he'll say things like, name it to tame it. And that applies to speaking how we feel. If we're feeling upset inside and we say, I'm really angry right now, that causes our brain to secrete soothing chemicals and helps us calm down.
That's a good one. That's a good tip. Name it to tame it. Okay.
And then another one that goes with it is share it to bear it. When we share our heavy things with another person, that makes it more bearable.
Very good. Those are good tips. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anything last thing that you'd like to say to everyone before we close?
It's not your fault. It's your nervous system. Like the freeze and collapse. That wasn't my fault. That was my nervous system trying to keep me safe. And that's one of the things I love so much about understanding the neurobiology of trauma is it's so forgiving. It's not character flaw. It's not that we didn't stand up for ourselves. It's that we couldn't. It's not that, we were brats. It's that our environment taught us to act that way. So many things forgiving. And it's also not to say, oh, well, that means everything I did was okay and I don't have to do anything.
It's not, yeah.
It's
it's not me, it's them. It's them.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the blame game. We don't want to do that. Yeah. It's taking responsibility, loving ourselves, recognizing, and as you say, naming it where you are, and so you know where you need to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have the basic neuroscience, you know where you can go.
Yeah.
So many times that have been really dark for me, I had like no hope and no joy and no peace and no love and nothing. And I knew that if I just kept doing the things that were good for my nervous system, I would get through.
Are you different than that girl that we saw feeding the ponies, or in the angel costume, or the artist Halloween? Where are you now?
My activism, it's really taking off. I'm starting to build a little coalition of people here in Delaware who want better, more safety in medicine. Like I'm ready to start trying some different types of social media and maybe doing like little video clips of myself and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I will be running the study group that Imogen and I have for September while she's away. So it could be really interesting.
Awesome. Well, I'm just delighted that you could join me here today. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining and listening and supporting the expressive arts. Thank you, Shay. I've learned a lot and I've really enjoyed our time together.
Thank you, Jean. It's been quite a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. To see more Courageous Creative Conquerors videos, join the weekly Creative Community calls, or learn more about private sessions, visit jeanvoicedart.com.